one by one the gentlemen of our next group, and a rather unique instrumentation inasmuch as that this group houses two string bassists. First, a nice warm welcome for Reggie Workman on bass. Reggie Workman. Here you go, Reggie Workman. And his fellow bassist, Arthur Davis. Arthur Davis. The drummer from a very illustrious musical family out of Detroit, Michigan. Thad Jones is one of the members. Hank Jones is another. This is Elvin Jones, ladies and gentlemen. At the piano, a nice hello to McCoy Tyner. McCoy Tyner. And the gentleman who is probably the most influential tenor saxophonist in the world today, I know you know who I'm talking about. He's going to open with So What, Miles Davis tune, John Coltrane, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, vinyl community. This is a response to Fred Big Star 1000's Gimme 10 for Impulse. I have a few Impulse titles. Of course, that's always a fan favorite for a lot of jazz people, including myself. And so I just happened to grab 10 of my titles off the shelf. I also saw Kieran's response to the thread, and I'm glad that he included words from the London Jazz Collector, because that is just the best site for referencing different jazz labels and trying to source original pressings. And you know, on Impulse, I have never well, at least for a lot of the earlier ones, I've never been able to obtain an original press. And Kieran was fortunate enough, because he actually has a few, but and you'll see that AM par is the key thing. Well, you know, I've bid on a few Impulse titles. I've actually bought some online, and you know, just like this particular cartoon that was on the London Jazz Collector's website illustrates, I have been bitten numerous times by people claiming that, hey, this is an original Impulse. Well, it's not a first press. It may be an original Impulse, but it's definitely not a first press. But anyway, let me jump into it. So Impulse, I think the album that defines the title is this guy, and Big Star had this. This is the definitive album for Impulse, and you know, this one is so unique. It has a white spine, so A Love Supreme by John Coltrane, just an incredible album, and very unique in its design. So you flip it over and it's just the same image. And even inside, you know, it's special because it has John Coltrane, and the top part, he has a letter to the listener describing, you know, the source of inspiration for this album, and then it has kind of a poem, A Love Supreme. Four-piece, you know, spiritual for sure. This is a must in terms of jazz albums, and if you look at any jazz list, this is going to be damn near at the top. This just happens to be the Analog Productions issue of this on 45 RPM, and they get the label pretty close to what the original was. And this was on ABC, but on some of the other ones that I'm going to show you, no one really pays it close attention to the labels like they do on Blue Notes. This sounds really good, but it is not from the master. So for those that are not aware, Impulse, along with Chess, A lot of the master tapes were lost in a fire when all the tapes were transferred to California. And I'm trying to remember the exact year, but it was sometime in the 90s when this the vaults that had all these tapes, including this guy, burnt down. And I've read online, and I want to say that the master came from a British safety copy, so it's not, not the master, but it was a copy of the master, so that's as good as it's going to get. But this sounds really, really good, and this is as close as I'm ever going to get to have an original. I've seen originals, but they just look like they've been beaten to hell, and someone's taken a knife to it and ringware to death, but this is a must. Next up is Coltrane. So going along Kieran's theme of just talking about the different pressings as well, this is definitely on the freer side of things, a lot less structure. This is a 97 reissue, so in 1997 Michael Kuskuna was aiding in the reissues of a lot of the Impulse catalog, and this just happens to be one, but it's kind of a flimsy reproduction. I mean, it's not bad, don't get me wrong, it's nice to have this, and it was cheap too. I mean, I think I paid $16 for it, but nice heavyweight vinyl. It was on 180 gram, but it's kind of their own take on the label there. Now, these guys were pressed at United, which I hate United. You can tell by the little U with the circle in it, and mastered by Wes Garland. And while it claims to be using the original master tapes, a lot of what I read is it was a high-res transfer. I mean, it's not bad for the price. I mean, you get the music for sure, but definitely an interesting album. Definitely a lot more free than what I care for, but it's Coltrane, and you can't go wrong with Coltrane. Next up is Coltrane's first album on Impulse, and this is Live at the Village Vanguard. This is a ORG reissue. ORG does a phenomenal job. The mastering is all done by Bernie Grunman. The pressings are done at RTI, and they do 45 RPM releases. The packaging is just spot on. They did a really, really good job with the label, but again, they don't pay the same level of detail as you would with a Blue Note, so there's no AM par down at the bottom, which is what you would expect from an Impulse. So they get the cover mostly light, nice cover gloss. And this is the 6th album in the Impulse catalog. ORG just happened to number some of the earlier ones, and this just happens to be my number. Got another ORG reissue. This does not have a high gloss cover, and Dr. Deadwax a long time ago did his version of like 5 albums, or the top 3 albums that every person getting into jazz must own, and this was one of his 3, and I have to say it is fantastic. So it's Johnny Hartman and John Coltrane, and Johnny Hartman is a vocalist, so it's very unusual to hear Coltrane playing with a vocalist, but it works so well. And he's playing with his standard quartet here, so you got McCoy Tyner, Elvin Jones, and Jimmy Garrison on bass. Now, you don't have the high gloss, but again, mastered by Bernie Grunman. So moving away from Coltrane, because Coltrane has a lot on Impulse, and I figured 4 was good if I'm only going to do 10. So this is Out of the Cool by Gil Evans. This is another jazz album that folks consider a desert island disc. Gil Evans did a lot of work with Miles Davis, so he does big band arrangements for jazz, and this is probably his best known solo work. So I think it was AndersInStockholm was showing Into the Hot. This is Out of the Cool, which is a little bit better known. This is the Analog Productions reissue, and of course you can see the lineup and how that played into things. The earlier Analog production issues were also numbered. High gloss, high quality, 45 RPM, you can't beat it. So, of course, Mingus had 2 albums. Fred showed Black Saint and the Sinner Lady, and this is Mingus. Both albums are just phenomenal. I have a preference for this one though. I don't know why. They're both fantastic works, but this one really grew on me, and this is one of my favorite Mingus albums of all time. Mingus, of course, hated Rudy Van Gelder, and Mingus, being a control freak, did not like what Rudy Van Gelder did with the sound, supposedly, and so the Mingus albums were not recorded in Van Gelder's studios, but this is just fantastic. So is Black Saint and the Sinner Lady, if you can find it. Now, these are my originals, but not first presses. Okay, I don't think anyone's going to show this. This is the Russian Jazz Quartet with Happiness. So most people would see this and think, oh, it's kind of a Cold War gimmick, but it's actually not too bad. So you have Boris Midny and Igor Brukshitis, and these 2 guys right here. So they defected from the Soviet Union in '64 on a musical trip to Japan, so they dove into the American embassy there and defected, and then they came to New York and they hooked up with these 2 guys, Roger Kellaway and Grady Tate. Yeah, he's not Russian for sure, but anyway, very interesting to listen to. In fact, there's one song here called Journey from Moscow, which surprisingly has elements that sound a whole lot like Ornette Coleman. So, you know, if you see this, it's really not that bad, and it's worth picking up. But I don't see this guy being reissued like John Coltrane. So another one, El Chico by Chico Hamilton. Chico Hamilton was West Coast, very Latin-infused jazz. I think I got the original enter here. This one. And I really like the design aesthetic with Impulse, with the gatefold. So really, just a different take on things from some of the other labels like Blue Note, but I like the gatefold. So there's the label, and you can see product of ABC Paramount there. Of course, this one was a latter 60s album, and you can tell by the numbering down here. So it suddenly jumped up to 9,000, so yeah, you can tell that's definitely a latter pressing. And this was definitely done by Van Gelder. There was Van Gelder in the Dead Wax. So this is another one that claimed to be an original, and I got really excited about it. And then the London Jazz Collectors website showed me that no, it was not original, so I was totally bummed. It sounds good though, I'm not complaining. So this is a ladder pressing. Of course, you saw stereo A7, it should be on the AM par, but if you look at the bottom, Let's see, product ABC. This one had the Vanguard stamped. So it just wouldn't be me without Art Blakey, and I have both of Art Blakey's issues. And another dead giveaway, I think I kind of knew it when I picked it up. So A7, and I try and keep the original inners as well for reference, but you know, when you got an A7 and here you got the inner, which is showing stuff like A38, A92 on the backside, you know how I first press it all. The last item I'm going to show you is Curtis Fuller, soul trombone. We got Freddie Hubbard, Jimmy Merritt, Cedar Walton, Jimmy Heath, J.T. Hogan, and Jimmy Cobb. So definitely an iconic lineup here. And this was an early one, A13. Again, it claimed to be original first press. I got excited and cracked her open, and hey, what do you know? You got the ladder impulse with ABC there. So really kind of a disappointment. And you know, I have a number of impulse titles that have like this notch here down at the bottom, so it makes me wonder if this was like in the 60s they did a bunch of pressings and they didn't sell too well, and so these were just cutouts, so they sold them at a discount. But Curtis Fuller, if you guys aren't aware, trombonist of course, but outstanding. He had a couple of albums on Blue Note. Definitely a good hard bop horn player, so if you like hard bop, definitely check him out. So those are the 10 I have to show you. Thanks for the inspiration, Fred, and I'm hoping more people will respond to this, because I always like to see an impulse stuff, and I'm extremely jealous of you and Karen, because man, you guys got that early press, an original press of Love Supreme, and I would just die to have one of those, but everyone I've come across is just, they always look unplayable, so I don't want to waste my money, but I am happy with the reissue. But thanks for watching, folks, and enjoy the week.